Hi guys, my name is Stephanie and I am back with another DIY project. Last week I shared how to install this picture frame trim. Today I'm going to be showing you how I installed a framed wallpaper mural inside of the trim. And I have to say, before I started this project, I was afraid that it would be hard to frame a wallpaper mural, but it was actually super easy. I'll go over what you need to know, but don't be intimidated by this project. It's worth a try if you're into DIY. So I started this project by installing the trim first, as I've already mentioned, and I also caulked and painted all of that trim before I installed this wallpaper. I did not want to install the trim over top of my mural because one day I might want to remove that mural, change it out for something else, or just have the trim left behind and hang artwork in it. So I wanted to keep my options open. And I also, with a peel and stick wallpaper, you don't have to be worried about it peeling off of the wall unless there's something, your wall's really greasy or dirty or something strange about your wall. It's not going to start peeling off. So you don't have to worry about holding that wallpaper in place with the trim. You might have noticed right here in the video that I installed that trim a little bit smaller than the mural itself. So I want to be able to install that mural and not worry about it lining up perfectly with the trim. It's easier to cut away a little extra. I found this beautiful wallpaper mural on Etsy. I'll put a link to that in the description in case you're interested in getting the same thing. But right now, I just want to show you that a lot of the action in the picture with the people and the animals is in the bottom of that wallpaper mural. So I want to be sure to keep that when I'm trimming away. I'm just going to trim away the extra clouds at the top. So pick how you want that laid out. When you are going to cut away a couple inches on either the bottom, the top, the left, or the right, make sure you plan out how you want to line that up perfectly when you're putting it inside of your trim. And when you're buying a wallpaper mural, make sure you look for one that has great reviews, comes on thick paper, is printed really well. This one even comes with instructions in case you're new to installing wallpaper murals, and it has a little scraper to help you get that wallpaper mural without any air bubbles against the wall. So this came with everything I needed. I did not have to buy anything extra to install this. Look at the quality of that paper. I love this thing. And if you're looking for a wallpaper mural, check Etsy and check the ones that have 1,000 reviews raving about how excellent the wallpaper mural is. So look for that. They're easy to find on Etsy. Check it out. This is not an ad for Etsy, but I'm just always so happy with everything I buy there. So I'm about to finally get started on installing this wallpaper mural. And I have to say, I had an issue with my camera. I ran out of memory and I didn't get the beginning of this install recorded. But you didn't really miss anything. I just lined up the bottom and the right-hand side of that first piece with the trim. So you can overlap the trim a little bit. It's easy to trim this away. I'll show you in a little bit. But just work in really small sections. You can peel these things off pretty easily. It doesn't lose its stickiness. It's all like a vinyl electrostatic sticky thing. I don't know how it works, but it doesn't lose its stickiness very easily, so you can peel it back a little bit, work off little air bubbles, just work carefully and slowly. And I think I got this whole thing installed in like 15 minutes. And that scraper with its nice rubber flat edge is great for smoothing out that wallpaper mural without damaging it. And if your wallpaper does not come with one of those tools, just search for a wallpaper smoothing tool online. I'll put a link to one on Amazon below if you need it. It should be pretty cheap, $5 to $10 tops. So as you can see, I've got that first piece installed. I left the overhang at the top. I'll cut that off later. Right now, I'm just carefully going over the entire section that I just installed to make sure there's no air bubbles before I move on to the next section. So have a look at this again. You can see that it is lined up pretty well with the trim, but it doesn't have to be perfect at this point because it is easy to trim it away with a razor. I'll show you how to do that soon and make nice, clean, pretty cuts. It's not hard. So this type of wallpaper mural is designed to overlap the last piece that you just installed a little bit. Some wallpaper actually just butts up against the edge, so you have to line it up really carefully next to each other. For this one, I need to purposely overlap it by about 1/2 inch and make sure that the pattern lines up properly. So really, this is the hardest part of it. It is not that hard. Just make sure when you start off that you're lining it up properly with the picture and it's going to meet the top of the, a few feet up, you're still at the same alignment. If you miss by a little bit, you can just sort of peel it back a little bit and restart. It's not that hard. Don't be intimidated. Just take your time. It's all about patience and taking your time with this project. So to install the second section of this wallpaper mural, I decided to remove the backing on the bottom few inches of this section of wallpaper. Removing just a little bit at the bottom completely gets that backing out of my way while I'm trying to line it up. So when you're starting a new row of the wallpaper, just stick with that corner where it's first meeting your last piece of wallpaper. Make sure that you've got the alignment right before you start working out away from that corner. So I don't go over to the left and I don't go too far up before I've made sure I've got the alignment right. Stick with that corner and work from there as you're installing the wallpaper. Once I fiddled around with that wallpaper enough to realize that I had it lined up properly, I moved on to removing small sections of the paper on the back. So you can either just peel it back a little bit and keep the paper on, or peel it completely off or cut it off to get it out of your way. Again, just work in 3 or 4 inch sections at a time so that you don't have a huge long line of wallpaper sticking to everything. It's much easier to keep that paper on as you work. So I've sped this video up quite a bit so that it's not too boring to watch, but I think you get the point from here. Let's move on to how easy it is to trim off the extra wallpaper so that you're left with a perfectly framed wallpaper mural. So I had a lot of extra wallpaper left over on the left-hand side of that. So I started off by just trimming away some of the extra, and I left maybe like 1 inch or 1.5 inches just so that it was out of my way while I was working with the razor, but it's not necessary. Again, it was just to get it out of my way. To trim away the extra wallpaper, I am using a utility knife, but I am installing a brand new blade so that it is nice and sharp and I don't have to worry about any dull spots in the blade. So before I began cutting, I used that wallpaper smoother to make sure that that wallpaper was nice and snug against the edge of the trim. Then I pressed the flat, hard edge of that wallpaper smoother up against my trim and just gently led my razor along that hard edge. So I'm using that hard edge as the guide for my razor, keeping it right up against the edge of my trim. And that razor is so sharp, it's just easily cutting that wallpaper away. Just be sure that when you are using that razor to cut through the paper, you're not pressing so hard that you're also cutting into the trim or the paint on the wall. Again, though, don't get too worried about this. It's not that hard. You'll get a feel for it as you're working. So just keep doing that exact same thing all along the inside edge of your framed wallpaper mural. So as you can see, it's pretty easy. It doesn't look like you've cut away wallpaper inside of that trim. It doesn't look uneven or ragged because I used a fresh, clean blade. So as long as you follow those steps, you can get a really beautiful looking framed wallpaper mural inside of trim. It's an easy DIY. Highly recommend this. It's an easy way to give a big impact statement piece inside of any room in your house. Okay, that's it for today, guys. As usual, put your questions in the comments below. I do try to answer them when I have time. Okay, have a great day.